Well, howdy do, buckaroos. This is Joe Leydon from Cowboys and Indians magazine. And if you can imagine a mix of Yellowstone and Twin Peaks, well, you're too late. The people responsible for Outer Range have already beaten you to the punch. This new Prime Video drama is a heady brew of murder, mystery, and metaphysics, set in a corner of Wyoming that just might offer a doorway, or a really big rabbit hole, to a time-tripping metaverse. CNI reader favorite Josh Brolin stars as Royal Abbott, a rancher who's determined to preserve and protect his family and land by any means necessary, even when he's faced with a threat that seems to be supernatural. We recently spoke with Josh about Outer Range during a virtual junket keyed to the show's April 15th premiere. I have to ask this. I have to ask that when you first got the script for this, what was your initial response other than, what the hell?
No, I know what the hell is a good thing for me. What the hell is never a bad thing for me. I know I remember my father seeing Inception and I was so jazzed up by it and I told him about it. And then he went to the movie theater and basically called me and did what you just did. What the hell was that? But he used the F word. He didn't say hell. So that's intriguing to me. And, I think because of two main factors, and one is that, the literature that I was turned on to as a kid growing up on a ranch in Central Coast, California, on a horse ranch, and having that reality be my reality. And then reading Ray Bradbury and Isaac Asimov was a massive psyche opener. You know what I mean? It just exploded my imagination with colors and all kinds of stuff that I just never thought possible. It's like what some people look for in drugs, I found in Ray Bradbury and Isaac Asimov. So I was able to live these crazy, crazy, crazy scenarios and then come back, which would taint my reality when I would come back. And it was really fun for me. So it was that. It reminded me, it kind of harkened me back to young Sam Shepard, and Sam was a really good friend of mine. And, I remember his early experimental writing in New York, and I missed Sam. So I think that there was some connective tissue there. And I like marrying contrasting things, so you have the Western genre that's very kind of a straightforward romanticized genre. And then you get hit in the face with this metaphysical sci-fi element of it. And you get to see humans try and deal with that alchemy. It's fun. To me, it's sustainable.
It's funny you mentioned Sam Shepard, because at one point, I've got to be very careful the kind of questions I ask you about this. I don't want to spill any beans. Mm-hmm. There's a Sam Shepard play called Buried Child.
Of course, I love it.
And out of the blue, someone has a line, bumper crop. And in the context, it's absolutely hilarious. Out of context, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
At one point in this show, you come in and say, I need to get a shirt.
Yeah.
And it's a serious moment, but I can't imagine anyone watching the show and not at least smiling at that line. When you delivered it, on set, how did it go over?
We knew it was funny because it's in the seriousness that it's funny. It's in the absurdity that it's funny. And that's, I remember it was cold. It was freezing cold that day. And I had a rain machine raining on me outside before I walked inside. So we were doing it just for me to be saturated, not as a look outside the window, I don't think, at least. So just absolutely like bone-chillingly cold rain, which is absurd in itself. As you're in any movie, there's moments that you have in the movie. I had one on Dune, looking up what was supposed to be like an unloading of a spacecraft or whatever, and you have that moment going like, this is kind of dumb. This is kind of, like, I actually believe this for a moment, and I just realized that it doesn't exist, and I'm looking at a green screen or whatever. You have those moments. That was one of those moments, and thank God it happened, because I think that moment is much funnier than what was intended. And it should be, because we're dealing with, like, on this absurd level of, it's not real, and it's created in order to watch. it's created in order to see a level of dynamic behavior that is uncommon, that we don't get to see often. And I think that that's really fun to play around with.
And when you read the script for the first episode, you came to the end. And once again, I can't be too specific here. No. But did you think, wait, they're going to do that?
No, I went, they're going to do that? That's a different take on the same, it was, again, I get very excited by things that are off camber. And I love straightforward Westerns. I've always loved Westerns. I grew up on Westerns. My mother was a Western fanatic. My mother was from Texas, Corpus Christi. And, we lived on a ranch because of that. So whatever, but there, like the Coens or like No Country or like, True Grit, there's always a level of strangeness to it. And what it does is it kind of reveals how silly we can be as human beings and our reactions to things. And then also you can get into the whole and what the whole symbolizes. Like, oh yeah, it's whole. It's a whole from a metaphysical standpoint. Where does the whole lead to? Does it, is it two very specific times connected together? How do you get manifested from the whole? Whatever it is, or it can be the whole represents secrecy. The whole represents our country. Our whole represents the collective psyche. Whatever you want to, you can make it as intelligent or as dumbed down as you want, which I think the best movies do.
Finally, how much rehearsal time did you have for this? Because I have to say, you and Lily, I bought right from the start that you were a long married couple.
Oh, that's nice. That's great to hear. We were lucky because we had more rehearsal than I thought we would have. And the guy who started us off was Alonso Ruiz Palacios, Mexican director, who kind of brought with him this idea, which I loved because it kind of threw me back into like theater days. And he was an actor who studied at RADA. And so he brought in all these kind of Peter Brooks experimental exercises that were a lot of fun. So it kind of brought us, we would do it amongst all the actors, and there were silly little experiments, like you had a bouncy ball and you would say a number, bounce it to somebody else. They would have to say that number and then a number on top of it and bounce it to somebody else. And you have 8 people and 4 balls going at once. And it was like, it's like a focus exercise. But what it did, the exercise was meaningless, but what it did was bring us together in a funny way and in a fun way, in a communal way. So I think with that group of actors, there was something because of the rehearsal process in the beginning that made that community of actors a little more special than it would have been without that.
Well, whatever works, and this certainly works. Josh, congratulations for being a big part of something very special. And I wish you continued good luck.
Thanks, man. Enjoy Cowboys and Indians and my buddy Thomas.
I will. And like I say, you're going to be homework again soon.
I hear you loud and clear. I appreciate you bringing it up.
Take care.
See you, buddy.